Hi, my name is Sasha. Welcome back to my channel, Sash Reads, and this is my August wrap-up. Okie dokie, look at me filming my August wrap-up on the 8th of September. I feel that is pretty well done for me. So yeah, August was a really good month. It was my birthday month. I had lots of fun with both books and people. I did a couple of vlogs, so any of the books that I've read, I've vlogged. I will pop them up there for you to check out and down in the description box below. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more reading vlogs by me, because they'll be there. So yeah, August, I read 16 books according to my dandy journal, 3,540 pages, and I also had 3 DNFs. So let's talk about them now, just because I don't want to think about them ever again. First DNF was The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. I started this for the full moon readathon, and I think I got pretty far into the audiobook. I can't remember how far into it, but I just couldn't like mentally get into it, if you know what I mean. The writing was just way too flowery. I think like that's all that really had going for it. The plot wasn't all that great, and it kept switching between past tense and present tense, and like I really only cared about the past tense. I did not care for David, which I actually don't think his name was David. I just called him that because that's just what he sounded like, bridegroom. So yes, that was a DNF, which sucks because I do have a fairy loot edition of it. That is okay. I will be able to give that on to someone who will enjoy the book, hopefully. My next DNF was The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young, which is very disappointing because if you've been around, you would know that Spells for Forgetting was one of my favorite books of 2022. So yeah, it was very, very sad that the next book from that author did just not live up to the hype in my head. I don't know how far I got into it, to be quite honest. It wasn't very far. I was listening to the audiobook. I think I listened to like an hour or like an hour and a half, and she was just droning on and on about her dead grandma, and I'm like, just get over it. I never had relationships with my grandparents, so I don't have that feeling that other people get. I guess that grief or that sorrow when a grandparent dies. So I just could not care, and I had no idea what was happening. Like, I was expecting the same vibes as Spells for Forgetting. In Spells for Forgetting, it like really, you got into it straight away and you would just live, laugh, laughing, but not with June Farrow. So that was one of the books in my 24 to read in 24. So thankfully I did get to DNF it. So that was another book ticked off. That's okay. I don't know if I'll give it a go. Like, if there is a readathon that comes up and there's a prompt like give a previous DNF a go, I might pick this one up. I don't know. It's not living in my head at all. And then the last DNF for the month was Rebel's Blade by Frost K. This is the first book in the Armenian feuds. This was another audiobook. This is an author that's going to Babe next year. And it was written in 2017, so I feel like the content should have been better. And the main thing that I just didn't like was you've got this prince who's trying to figure out who the rebels are because he doesn't want rebels in his kingdom, whatever. He's like at this meetup. He thinks he sees this like teenage boy, right, at a rebel meetup. And then like after a fight, he realizes it's a girl. Like, starts roughing her up, and she starts getting like anxious, like, oh, like, because he's touching her in places that he shouldn't be. In his head, he's like, oh, she doesn't like it when I do this. I'm going to really lean into it so she'll do what I say. I'm not going to like hurt her or sexually assault her or anything, but I'm just going to make her think that I'm going to. What? And this is supposed to be the hero of our story? Like, make it make sense, please. That was a very quick DNF. And I will not be continuing with this author, which is not any skin off my nose because there are so many other authors that I need to read that is going to Babe. So I'm glad I could at least get one out of my system. All right, so those were the DNFs. Out of the 16 books, I did little like pie graphs for my wrap up this month, which is totally inspired by Alexis Fully Booked. I will link her down below. I realized it's still really hard to like how many, like numeral wise, how many 5 stars I read. Percentage wise, I read 37.5%. I believe out of 16, I think that's 5 or 6. So 6 5-star reads, 4 4-star reads, 2 3.5-star reads, and 4 books that I didn't rate, which you will figure out why in a second. And then format wise, 8 of them were ebooks, 4 of them were physical books, I think. No, 5 of them were physical books, 2 were audios, and 1 was a hybrid of physical and audio. And then I read 5 queer books, 4 BIPOC authors, 8 of the books I have owned off my TBR. That's amazing. And then 14 of these books were on TBRs, either for the month or for the year. My favorite book of the month is going to have to be These Shadows Become Her by Demi Clarissa. This book was so freaking good. I did go to the book launch for this, so I will link that vlog down below for you to watch. This is a romantic fantasy. It's dark. It's a dark fantasy with like romantic aspects. You've got fae, you've got vampires, witches, and just lots of really like dark elements. But I don't know, I really love Mia as a person and as a character, and especially she's messy. Mia is very messy and I love that. And yeah, so I guess I'll tell you what the book is about. Mia is an artistic prodigy and she's long hoped to be an apprentice with a world-renowned artist. But when he crushes her dreams, despair drags her into a murky abyss of whiskey and men, with her only sister Carly as a light in the darkness. But when Mia stumbles across her sister's mutilated corpse, she is once again lost and untethered. All she knew crumbles around her with a gruesome side awakening, a shadowy secret. That one that could see her burn. So you've got 2 love interests in here. It's not a love triangle. I do believe we're going to have a why choose moment later in the series. But one of the men is Idris, who is just, he is probably one of my most recent book boyfriends. I don't know, something about him was just, I love him so much. So he's a vampire. And then you have Win Neverclothe, who is actually her dad's best friend. So you get like the age gap moment here. But like I said, Mia is messy and I love messy characters. And yeah, so definitely a book that if you look at the trigger warnings and think that you're okay, definitely think you should pick this book up because chef's kiss. But look at that artwork, right? Oh my gosh. Like, she spoils us. She really does, Miss Demi. And then worst book, like I've already told you my DNFs. I did read some sentient object smut. So I don't... yeah, we'll talk about them later. But we'll start off with a book that almost became my favorite of the month, but it's definitely gone my favorite books of the year. And that is Open Throat by Henry Hoke. So this is a really shorty. It's told by the perspective of a mountain lion that's living under the Hollywood sign. It's just about him, what he sees there, what he notices, and then something happens which makes him unfortunately have to leave, and so he has to go, just him exploring the area of LA and meeting certain people. Such a small book. It definitely does pack a punch. I actually read this twice this month. Read it at the start and then I listened to it through Libby the next week, I believe. It's told stream of conscious sort of thing because like it's a mountain lion. There's not really like it's not really a scent. Excuse you. Love this queer little mountain lion. So the first 2 weeks of August was actually the full moon readathon, and so that's what the first 6 books that I'm going to be talking about, other than Demi Clarissa, is books that I read for the full moon readathon. So yeah, then I read Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. This is my first Rachel Harrison and I was not disappointed. This is a book about this girl whose twin sister is about to give birth, and she doesn't have anyone, like her partner's not there. So she leaves her like New York job to go back to the small town that she left when she was a teenager to help her sister get ready to give birth. And that's where she runs into people from her past. And then one night at a bar, she has this accident, and she wakes up in the woods, but she's like, don't worry about it. She goes back to her sister's house, and then she realizes that she might be turning into a werewolf. And yeah, it was a fun little time. I did give it 4 stars if I haven't said that already. I think I was going into like expecting ginger snaps, and I definitely did get some of those vibes. And I'm very excited to read more by this author because I think this is a great book to start with. I then read King of Pride by Anna Wang. This is the second book in her Kings of Sin series, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I don't think I will rate anything by this author anything less than 5 stars. The way she's going, she just writes romance so well. So this one is sort of like a friends to lovers, kind of like a forbidden romance, because she works at the club that he frequents and is like a member of, and one of the rules is no fraternization between members and staff. There's like this really amazing jealousy scene. I don't know, I really love Kai Parker. Is it Parker or is it Young? I think it's Isabella Parker and Kai Young. Anyway, I really enjoy Kai. He gave me Elijah Michelson vibes. So if that doesn't make you want to pick this book up, I don't know what will. I then read Annabelle Lee, which is a short story / poem by Edgar Allan Poe. I gave it 5 stars. It was very wistful. Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word that people would describe it, but remembering back on it, I did enjoy it. It did make me want to read The Dark Artifices by Cassandra Clare because I believe that's what they are based on. I then read Fabled Kingdom by Queenie Chan. This is a novel / graphic novel because it's got bits and pieces of like comics and stuff in it, but it's got the story in between the pictures. And this is like a fairy tale reimagining. You've got Little Red Riding Hood, you've got Sleeping Beauty, you've got Snow White. There's, yeah, a lot of different ones in here. It is kind of dark, but I'm glad I finally read it because it's been on my shelves for so freaking long. Like, apparently it's even signed to me, so I have met the author apparently. But yes, it's definitely one that I would like to continue. I think it was a really fun time. Celsia is a Red Hood, and she's a young healer training under her grandmother in a small village deep in the woods. But then a shocking truth gets revealed and she finds out her grandmother isn't her real grandmother. She's got her two real grandmothers are actually 2 different queens of 2 fantasy lands that she thought weren't real until now. And it turns out her dad's a werewolf and she might have werewolf blood in her. And yes, I really enjoyed this. I think I gave this 4 stars. I then read Open Throat again. I've already talked about it. Then it was my birthday. And for my birthday, I thought it was going to be a fun vlog idea to read about different birthday items. I read The Balloon Smart. I read Squeak by Vera Valentine, which is a, what did she call it? It's like a balloon Omegaverse story. So pretty much you've got these 2 dudes. I can't remember name. I remember Sebastian. And I think the other one might be Kian. So you've got, yeah, those 2 dudes. Turns out they were actually used to be balloons, but they were turned into men by this fake sorcerer. She's not a real sorcerer. She actually just like found these magic spells and then put them together to make these 2 dudes. And they're kind of like her sex slaves, but they get away from her. They realize they're turning back in to balloon animals and they don't want that. So they need to find another, like a real sorcerer. I think they're called scholamancers. So they need to find a real one to make sure that they stay human and like they're able to shift back when they want to, not when they have to. And that's where Poppy comes into the picture. That was interesting. Yeah, look, I have all my thoughts and feelings in the video, so I will pop that up there for you to watch so you can just see my thoughts real time. I then read Caked by Holly Wilde, which is about a birthday cake who turns into a man, but he's still kind of like a birthday cake. It's homegirl's birthday. It's her 30th birthday. And so her friends, I don't know the magic of it, but her friends get her this cake that when she blows her candle out, turns into a dude, and they have this wild sex. She ends up killing him because I think they're 69ing. And she's like, oh, his like thigh smells really good. I just want to like see what flavor cake he is. So she takes a bite of his thigh and it's like chocolate or something. But then she like nibbles on the other thigh and it's like a lemon cake or something. And then she's like so overwhelmed by this, she just keeps biting chunks out of him while she's riding his face, ends up killing him because she's so into the moment while she's eating him but getting eaten out, and it kind of comes together and she squishes his face, and then it's just like lots of smashed cake, but she's also eaten most of it. It was different. It was very different. So I think that was probably the lowest one I read, the 3 that I read. And the third one was Wrapped by Nicole Parker. This is the 3rd book in the Carlverse series. I kind of want to read the first 2 to actually like get a backstory of what's going on. But the 3rd one is about this girl. She gets fired on her birthday. So she goes home and she sees this like giant, battery decided to die. How rude is that? What was I saying? I think I was talking about Wrapped. So yeah, there was like a 4-foot gift box there, and then she has a couple wines, and then she has a knock on the door, and the gift box turns from 4 feet into 6 foot. Still a gift box, by the way, not a gift box turned into a man, just a gift box. And his name's like Tom or something, and he gives her the best night of her life as a gift box. She calls up her sister though, because she thinks it's from her. And the sister's like, we'll send Carl around to really help you. And she's like, why the hell are you sending this guy that you work with? And Carl comes around, he's like, yep, we're all just gonna fuck each other. Me, the gift box, and you. And like the gift box like uses his like little ribbons as like hands, but also as a tongue. I don't know. It was strange. But then she wakes up in the morning. Both Kyle and the gift box are gone. And that night she goes to this party at an axe throwing place, and she meets this guy there, one of the owners, called Tom. She's like, do we know each other? And he's like, no, I don't think so. But he's got like the same mannerisms as her gift box. And then you get his POV, and it turns out it is him, but he's now a human. So I don't know. Let's just go to the next book that I read, which was These Shadows Become Her, but I've already talked about that. I then read, The AntiHero by Sarah Kate. This was lovely gifted to me by Meredith, so thank you so much, Merb, for this. I think the gift note was saying, can't wait to meet Sarah Kate together, but she dropped out a babe, unfortunately. But I'm still happy that we did buddy read this together, and I think she finished it. I gave this one 3.5 stars. It wasn't quite a 4, and I'm quite sad that it wasn't a 5 because I didn't think I would give Sarah Kate anything lower than a 5. I went in thinking Salacious Players vibes, and I didn't get that. I got pastor's kid who realizes that his dad ain't all that, tries to get back at him by fake dating the owner of a sex club and start making sexy videos together. But there's no like consent pre-written or like pre-talked about consent about things that happen between these two people. Who is it? Austin, oh no, Sage and Adam, I think. It was just a bit... I wasn't expecting it at all, so I was kind of sad. But I've heard the 2nd and the 3rd book like a lot better in that regard, so I'm very excited. I think the 2nd book is Polly. I believe there's a throuple, because we have like a marriage in trouble sort of thing going on. And then the 3rd book does have a plus size character who we actually meet in this book. So I'm excited to see that happen. But yes, so you got fake dating, you've got pastor's kid. I didn't realize how crazy the like mega churches was in America, at least. Like in Australia, I've been to Hillsong, I've been to the conference. He needed key cards to get into the parking lot of the church, and I'm like, that's insane. In my head, churches are for everyone, not for people with key cards. It'd make sense. I then read The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This was such a cozy read. Oh my gosh, I did give it 4 stars. It wasn't quite a 5-star just because Keela, the main character, was a little bit obsessive and annoying, just in some places. Like, she does work on it throughout the book. But you've got, yes, Keela, she's a librarian. The city that she's living in there's a revolution happening and her library is going up in flames. So she's like, I need to save some books. So her and her companion, Kaz, who is a talking spider plant, save some books, get on a boat and flee the city. And she goes back to her home island there. And she gets really obsessed because the books that she saved were spell books and she's worried people are going to think she stole them. Magic is illegal for people that aren't like real sorcerers sort of thing. But she realizes that the island that she's from is dying. So she wants to try and make these spells from the spell books that she stole, but she doesn't want people to think that she's using stolen magic. So she makes a jam shop and then sells spells behind the jam. The whole time I was like, I want a cinnamon scroll, I want some coffee, I want some jam. And it was a really cozy time other than like that big plot thing happening in the background. But I read the author's note at the end and she's like, I just wanted this book to feel like you're drinking a hot chocolate. And literally that's what it's like. So she did well. I then listened to and then read the last little bit of Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This was such a short but impactful read. I am glad I got through the first chapter because the first story wanted me to stab my eyeballs. I hated it so much. Did I read the first chapter? No, I think I listened to it, so stab my ear holes. You kind of need to read that first chapter to understand like what's going on and what's happening. So if you get through that, the other 3 chapters are so well worth it. I did cry at the end. This is about this coffee shop in Japan that can time travel, but there's a bunch of rules. And one of them is you have to come back before the coffee gets cold. Nice. I did give this one 4 stars, I think. It would have been a full 5-star if that first chapter didn't want me to hurt myself. I was on Sprints one time. At band camp. And Tracy, the lovely Tracy, was like, I have just been told I need to read Tempting Shadow. It's something, or she's like, I just read Tempting Shadow by Margot Davis. I think you'd like it. It's like 68 pages. So I picked it up on KU and I read it in that sprint. And let me tell you. Let me tell you something! Let me tell you something! I enjoyed it, I guess. It was about this girl who, I think her whole life she was like reading her grandmother's storybooks and she kind of like resonated with this shadow creature or shadow monster. And then as she grew older, she started having feelings for this imaginative shadow monster. Then she finds out that they might be real. So she pretty much just packs up her whole life into this backpack and goes looking for it. And then she finds him and then they kind of just bang it out. It was a fun time. It was short but fun. There's knotting. There's like obvious size difference. He's like 12 foot tall, I think she said. And she's like 5 foot, right? And then she's saying like his equipment was the size of her leg. And I'm like 5 foot, right? So I'm looking at my leg and I'm like, how is that going to fit inside me? I was doing math. It was really weird. But yeah, so that one's 3.5 stars. I really like it when Tracy's like, pick this book up. Like if it's a short book, I'm going to read it. I then read another top contender for this month's favorite, and that was Pumpkin Spies and Poltergeist by Ali K. Mulford and K.L. Morrison. 5 out of 5 stars for this sapphic, cozy, witchy book. It was such a fun time. It was a rom-com as well, so you're laughing, you're loving, you're living. So you've got Harper and Jordan, right? Harper is a human who comes to this town to help her sister with the coffee shop. Just because Harper, she just feels like she's always ruining her life or sort of thing, like she's messing everything up because she doesn't have a life together. So she wants to live with her sister for a bit to try and get her life together. Now in this town, you've got paranormal beings there, but the tourists think they're all humans dressed up, but people who live there know that they're real. So you've got witches, werewolves, you've got like a Frankenstein character, vampires, demons, the whole shebang, right? And so Harper comes in, she meets this girl called Jordan. Now, Jordan is a witch, and on the anniversary of her breakup with her ex-girlfriend, Jordan summons the ghost because she did die, unfortunately, and she's like wants to say goodbye and sort of thing. But then the ex doesn't go away after she tells her to. The ex-girlfriend then goes, maybe I'm here to help you move on. So she's trying to get Jordan and Harper together. It's kind of turns into like a murder mystery as well because they're trying to figure out who killed Lou, which is the ex-girlfriend. And yeah, it was a really fun, cozy time. And I think it's perfect for like the Halloween or like autumn vibes because yeah, this town really ramps up around Halloween and like the holidays, so definitely 2 finger bangs for that. Ooh, I don't know if I should have said finger bang, but you know, they're sapphic. Finger banging is gonna happen. The last book I read in August was actually the sequel, or shall I say the squeakquel to Squeak by Vera Valentine, and that was Squeal by Vera Valentine. I think I did say in my vlog that I wanted the first book to be more fleshed out because I would really enjoy the story because there was like this sort of plot behind it. And Squeal kind of does do that in a sense, like it's not a actual sequel sort of thing. It's kind of like the first half of the sequel, or not even the first half. The first 5/6 of the book is told in a different POV of the first book. The same scholomanther who made Kian and Sebastian made someone after them, after they left, but she's like, you can never leave, you cannot talk about what you are, sort of thing. But instead of turning this balloon into a person, she turns him into a clown. So yeah, it's pretty much about him trying to break away from the scholomanther and then trying to find the real one and trying to find his mates, sort of thing. And not what I was expecting. I was kind of hoping for something different. I don't know what I was expecting. It was a fucking balloon smut. But yeah. Anyway, that's what I read. That's all the books that I read in August. Let me know down below what was your favorite book that you read in August. I would love to know. And yeah, if you got nothing else to say but you want to say something to let me know that you're here, comment any sort of like skull, crow, or orange emoji for These Shadows Become Her because I love this book so very much. And like, did you see how many of those books that I got to hold up physically? Because I actually read books that I owned. Disregard that I got most of them this month, please. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos by me. You can also add me on Goodreads, Instagram, and Storygraph. They're just at @sashreads. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you next time. Bye.